Me, 28 years old, female husband, 30 years old, male married for 2 years, together for 6.5 years in total goal. We have a recurring issue that I just don't know how to address. It came up again this morning, so I'd like to lay it out here in the hopes of getting some input on how to address it accurately and avoid falling victim to this same problem in the future. Background. I've been teaching high school English for 5 years, and I'm starting to consider a career change. I'm very passionate about mentoring teenagers, literacy, and ultimately really love my kids. But the systemic issues in public education are wearing me down. I could go on, but that's not the point of this post. Last week was especially rough on my team, and now I'm super ill to boot. I stayed home yesterday and basically slept the whole day. Today we had a Zoom day because of snow, which was perfect because I'm still feeling pretty sick. The issue? I'm on our couch, having just finished Zooms for the day, but still grading papers. My husband, who works nights, had gone out to clear off our cars and shovel the driveway while I was working. He came back in and was making himself lunch when I verbalized disappointment about the papers I was grading, and then said that I'm thinking of changing careers at the end of this year. This is the first time I have seriously mentioned this to my husband, and as I am the breadwinner of our house, I expected him to have some concerns. But I've supported him through multiple career changes and a period of unemployment, and I would hope he knows me well enough to understand that I wouldn't just drop my teaching job without a solid plan to continue supporting my share of our life. However, he didn't really acknowledge what I was saying, beyond slight surprise and saying he was sorry things are so bad. A few minutes later, he asked if I think my job is the only change I'd need to make to be happier. I said I hadn't made any final decisions yet, but reminded him how miserable I've been this year and said that I'm just starting to think about options. An hour or two goes by, and I've moved on to some cleaning while he gets ready for work. I ask him if he could fold and put away his laundry when he gets home later, as it's currently all over the guest bed, and I had wanted to sleep there last night. This isn't anything unusual. He snores like a train, so sometimes I sleep in the guest room to get some quiet. His response was, "Sure, I'll clean it out so you can sleep there forever if that's what you want." I reiterated that it's just nice to have the option when his snoring gets loud. Not that this is a permanent thing. He huffed off and has been upstairs since. This is the ongoing issue. Anytime I express any dissatisfaction with anything, he assumes it's about him and gets defensive/passive-aggressive like this. I will not engage in the moment, as I feel like he should be responsible for communicating his feelings in a mature way conducive to growth together. However, the current way he handles things makes me feel like I can't rely on him emotionally. And when I express a concern while he isn't elevated, he says I'm too sensitive and that he's allowed to have feelings. Any insight you can help with is super appreciated. Thanks for reading. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I used to sleep on the couch. You could hear my ex snoring throughout the entire house. Once, we went to visit family, and they were on a different floor. They came to me and asked how I managed to deal with it every day. My son used earplugs. Anyway, my ex viewed this as me not wanting to be with him. I finally recorded his snoring while I was in the same bedroom, while I was in the guest room, and while I was on the couch, different floor. He became angry. I suggested speaking to his doctor, but he couldn't get it out of his head that I just didn't want to be with him. I guess I didn't show him I loved him. Make sure to show your hubby you love him. Comment 2. Yeah, that's not good. He's doing this to avoid having to think about what you're saying and making it all about him. You can try just calling him out on it directly. Honey, are you really going to set off a nuke over this? I just need to talk to you about this and for you to listen. And the reason for that is that I value your opinion and would only make a change with your enthusiastic support. And if there's something that's bothering you, I'll gladly do the same for you. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 3 days since my last post, and boy, do I have an update for you. So, after the whole laundry and guest room incident, things took a turn for the worse. I thought it was just a rough patch, but it seems like there's a deeper issue at play here. Let's rewind a bit. My husband and I have been together for a long time, and we've had our fair share of ups and downs, but this time, it feels different. You see, my husband has always been a bit sensitive when it comes to criticism, even when it's not directed at him. I've tried to be understanding, considering his past. He grew up in a home where his parents were constantly on his case, so I guess he's developed a bit of a defensive mechanism. Back to the present. After he huffed off to work that day, I was left feeling pretty alone. I mean, I'm sick. I'm stressed about work. And now my own husband seems to be pulling away when I need support the most. I decided to give him some space and went to bed early, hoping things would be better in the morning. The next day, I woke up to find that he hadn't come home from work. I called him and he said he'd crashed at a friend's place because he didn't want to disturb me with his snoring. I appreciated the thought, but it felt like he was avoiding the real issue. Later that day, I was feeling a bit better, so I decided to tackle the laundry situation myself. As I was folding his clothes, I found a receipt from a jewelry store for a necklace that I'd never seen before. My mind started racing. Was it a surprise for me, or was there someone else? I decided to confront him about it when he got home. When he walked in, I could tell he was on edge. I showed him the receipt and asked him about the necklace. He looked shocked and then angry. He accused me of snooping through his things and not trusting him. I tried to explain that I found it by accident, but he wouldn't listen. He stormed out of the room, and we didn't talk for the rest of the night. The following day, I was at work, still feeling under the weather but pushing through. I got a text from him saying we needed to talk when I got home. My heart sank. I braced myself for a difficult conversation. I got home, and he was already there, sitting at the kitchen table. He apologized for overreacting about the receipt and explained that the necklace was indeed for me. He'd planned to give it to me as a surprise to cheer me up because of all the stress I'd been under. I felt a mix of relief and frustration. Why couldn't he have just said that in the first place? But then he dropped another bombshell. He admitted that he'd been feeling insecure about our relationship, especially with me talking about changing careers. He felt like he wasn't contributing enough and that I might leave him if I found a better job. I was floored. I had no idea he was feeling this way. We talked for hours, and I reassured him that my career change had nothing to do with him and that I wasn't planning on going anywhere. I thought we'd made progress, but then he said something that made my blood boil. He told me that he'd been talking to his mom about our issues, and she suggested that maybe I was the one who needed to change, not just my job. That maybe I was too ambitious and that was putting a strain on our marriage. I couldn't believe it. After all the support I'd given him through his career changes and unemployment, this was how he repaid me? By letting his mom plant seeds of doubt about my character? I was hurt and angry. I told him that it wasn't fair for him to let his mom's opinions influence our relationship, and that we needed to work through our issues together, without outside interference. We're still trying to work through everything, but it's been tough. I'm starting to see that maybe there's a pattern here that I hadn't noticed before. It's like every time I try to take a step forward, he pulls me back. And now, with his mom in his ear, it's like I'm fighting a battle on two fronts. My bully apologizes for high school, but only wants to be friends after her fiance dumps her, and she admits she's into me. So I agree to meet, and now she's making moves. So for context, we're both 22-year-old females now, and we were decent friends when we both started secondary school. After a few months, the friendship soured, and she started to bully me, and the majority of this included physical violence towards me. I also know that many people at my school did not like her, as she essentially turned everyone against her with her awful attitude. A couple of weeks ago, she sent me a message on Facebook, apologizing to me, and at first I somewhat appreciated the apology. But the more she messaged, the less I felt inclined to forgive her. It started becoming fairly obvious that she was only apologizing to me for her own selfish reasons, as I have pieced together that she doesn't really have friends besides her fiancé and a couple of people she speaks to, and that her apologizing to me was probably an easy way for her to find a new person to talk to. It started becoming obvious when she started reassuring me that she wasn't like that anymore. She's changed so much as a person, and that she had trauma from school. At first, I was fine with responding and being polite, but it has gotten to a point where she tries to start conversations with me a lot. And she has pushed the idea of meeting up multiple times at this point. But I have tried to brush her off by saying that I'm away from home for university and won't be back for a while, which is true. But I'm finding it very hard to put into words why I don't want to be friends with her. And I would like her to stop messaging me. The icing on the cake is that, since talking to me, she made a post talking about how she is in an open relationship. And it was blatantly obvious that she wanted me to see that. I can basically confirm this as she messaged me the next day talking about how she had weird guys messaging her on Snapchat, but that she wasn't cheating on her fiancé, as she's in an open relationship. This struck me as very strange because it was obvious that she wanted me to know, and it just made me even more uncomfortable. Since talking to her, I have noticed more posts about how lonely she is and how she's sick of fake people and just wants a trustworthy friend. I have responded to her messages out of being polite, but every time the conversation dies, her responding with a single word, I let it die. Our conversations have become less frequent, thankfully, but I think I am ready to try and shut this down because, frankly, it's becoming very uncomfortable for me now, and I do feel at fault for not shutting it down earlier. My main issue is struggling with how to word it and what to say. Does anyone have any advice for this kind of situation? What's the best way for me to shut this down? I think I have a fear of coming across as rude, but I suppose it's irrational to worry after what she did to me. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If you don't want to be confrontational, I'd suggest telling her that you can leave the past in the past, but you're different people now with different lives, that you hope she is well in the future, and say goodbye. Then block and let go. She'll most likely vague post rants about no real friends, but that's her problem, not yours. Edit to add. Tell her this in a message. Don't wait for a reply before blocking. It might feel rude to you, but it's just protecting your own mental state. Comment 2. I understand your need to be polite. Maybe something along the lines of, I feel there may have been a bit of a miscommunication. While I appreciate your apology, I am not interested in having you in my life in any way. You seem to have mistaken my being polite with wanting to become friends again. I assure you this is not the case. Have the day you deserve. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my old school bully who's been trying to reconnect with me. It's been a wild week, and I've got to tell you, things took a turn I did not see coming. So, after my last post, I decided I needed to be more direct with her. I was drafting a message in my head, trying to figure out how to tell her I wasn't interested in rekindling a friendship. Before I could send it, she hit me with a bombshell. She messaged me saying she had broken up with her fiancé. I was shocked, to say the least. I remember how they seemed like the perfect couple back in the day, always together, and she would brag about how they were meant to be. Turns out the open relationship was her fiancé's idea, and she went along with it to make him happy. But she wasn't into it at all and felt pressured. She told me she finally had enough when she caught him with someone else in their bed. It was like a soap opera, and I couldn't believe I was getting all this info dumped on me. I felt a bit bad for her, honestly. Despite our history, no one deserves to be treated like that. But then, she started messaging me more and more, and it was clear she was looking for a shoulder to cry on. I was torn between feeling obligated to help and remembering all the awful things she did to me in school. Remember how I mentioned she turned everyone against her with her attitude? Well, it turns out that wasn't entirely true. I bumped into an old classmate who filled me in on some details I never knew. Apparently, my bully had been dealing with a lot at home during our school years, and she took it out on everyone else. Her parents were going through a messy divorce, and she was caught in the middle. It doesn't excuse her behavior, but it did make me see her in a different light. Anyway, back to the present. She kept pushing to meet up, and I finally agreed to a public coffee shop, thinking it would be easier to leave from there if things got uncomfortable. The day we met up, she was already there when I arrived, and she looked different. Not just her appearance, but there was a sadness in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. We talked, and she apologized again, this time in person. She seemed genuine, and I could tell she was trying to make amends for her past. But then, out of nowhere, she confessed that she had feelings for me. I was floored. I had no idea how to respond. I mean, we were both into guys in school, and there was never any hint of anything like this. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened as she poured her heart out, telling me how she always admired me, and that her bullying was a twisted way of getting my attention. I was speechless. It was like one of those moments in a movie where everything comes to a screeching halt. After her confession, I told her I needed time to process everything. I left the coffee shop feeling like I was in a daze. I've been avoiding her messages since then because I just don't know how to deal with this. It's like our roles have reversed, and now she's the vulnerable one, and I'm the one holding all the cards. I'm still trying to figure out what to do next. Part of me feels sorry for her, but another part of me is still hurt from all the bullying. And now, with this confession of feelings, I'm more confused than ever. I never expected to be in this position, and I'm not sure where to go from here. My boyfriend dumps me for hiding past abuse, but his sister pushes me to win him back. And when I do, his ex and mine make trouble, but we team up to get a restraining order and fix us. For context, I am 24 years old and my boyfriend is 26 years old. We have been together since 2021. He comes from a very religious Christian family, as do I. When we met, I wasn't expecting to fall in love or end up in a relationship because I had been very hurt before and didn't feel ready to open up to anyone. My boyfriend was always very charming, kind, and treated me like any girl would dream. So when he asked me to be his girlfriend, even though I had previously not felt ready, I said yes. When we first met, he mentioned that the one thing he cannot accept is a liar. I did my best to never lie, however, when we met, I hid a part of my past. At the time, I didn't think it would matter, as I wasn't ready to tell anyone, and I didn't think my boyfriend would stick around in my life. Before I met my partner, I'd been in a relationship with an hurtful man who was Muslim and had tried to get me to convert. I eventually broke off the relationship, but it was difficult to get away. He beat me and I had to call the police on him. He also sexually attacked me. I really didn't want to lie or hide it for so long. I just knew deep down that if my boyfriend ever found out, he would likely leave me for two reasons. Firstly, because my past was with a Muslim, and it goes against his beliefs. And secondly, because he would view the lie I kept as a reflection of my character, that I am a liar and would never change. I tried telling him many times, but my boyfriend often broke off the relationship over stress in our relationship. I genuinely didn't keep the lie to be malicious or sneaky. I just didn't want to lose him at that point. Now he knows, and he has said that he cannot be with a liar. I told him every detail, and he said, "You lost a lot by being with an aggressor, but you lost everything by lying." I'm not sure what to do. Is what I did unforgivable? This man is truly my soulmate, not an infatuated type of love or an attachment, but just full on my best friend. I hurt myself by not telling him. I don't know how he will ever understand that I simply didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want it to be true. What my ex put me through nearly took my life. I'm very ashamed, and I just wish there were even the slightest chance of forgiveness. I would appreciate any advice on what I can do to rectify the situation and advice on whether anyone believes I could repair the damage I have caused. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Girl, this man is not only not your soulmate, he is not even a friend. He has repeatedly broken up your relationship. He apparently thinks it is at least partially your fault you were abused, and he would leave you simply for having been with someone from another religion in the past. If you stayed with this guy somehow, the rest of your life would be a nightmare of having to live up to his messed up standards. Comment 2. You don't owe sharing your past relationship trauma with your current boyfriend. You didn't lie to him at all. You just chose to keep your past private. He's a jerk if he breaks up with you over that. You should be pissed he could be so cruel as to break up and throw it all away because you didn't want to talk about your ex-abusive boyfriend. Your current boyfriend is a total jerk. You don't deserve that. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about my situation with my boyfriend finding out about my past. I've been overwhelmed with the support and advice from this community, and I thought I'd give you all an update on what's been happening. So, after my boyfriend broke things off, because I hadn't told him about my hurtful ex, I was devastated. I thought I had lost him for good. But things took a turn that I never expected. My boyfriend's sister, who I've always been close with, reached out to me. She told me that she had never seen her brother as happy as he was with me, and that she thought we were perfect for each other. She encouraged me to fight for our relationship. Taking her advice to heart, I decided to write my boyfriend a letter. I poured everything into it, my feelings, my regrets, and my hopes for us. I left it on his doorstep and waited. 2 days later, he showed up at my place. We had a long, emotional talk where he admitted that he missed me and that he was struggling with everything. He said he needed time to think about us and our future. During that time, I started to focus on myself. I went back to therapy to deal with the trauma from my past relationship. I realized that I'd been carrying so much shame and guilt, and it was time to work through it. I also started volunteering at a local shelter for women who had been through similar experiences. It felt good to give back and to connect with others who understood what I had been through. Then, last week, my boyfriend came over again. He told me that he had been doing some soul searching. He had talked to his pastor and some close friends, and he realized that he had been too harsh on me. He said that he understood why I hadn't told him about my past and that he was sorry for not being more supportive. We both cried and held each other for a long time. But here's the twist. As we were rebuilding our relationship, my ex somehow found out that I was seeing someone new. He started sending me threatening messages, saying that he would tell my boyfriend lies about me if I didn't talk to him. I was terrified, but I knew I had to be honest with my boyfriend about what was happening. I showed my boyfriend the messages, and he was furious. Not at me, but at my ex. He immediately took action, helping me file a restraining order against my ex. It was a scary process, but having my boyfriend by my side made me feel safe and protected. And then, just when I thought things were settling down, my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend showed up out of the blue. She had heard about our troubles and decided to try and win him back. She started spreading rumors about me, trying to drive a wedge between us. It was like high school all over again, and I couldn't believe we were dealing with this drama. My boyfriend was quick to shut her down, although he told her that he loved me and that nothing she said could change that. He even went as far as to publicly defend me on social media, which was a big deal for him since he's usually so private. Now we're working on rebuilding our trust and our relationship. It's not easy, and there are still moments of doubt and fear. But we're committed to each other and to getting through this together. We've started going to couples counseling, and it's been really helpful in addressing our communication issues and the hurt from our pasts. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.